Hey everyone, welcome back to the Jay and May English podcast. I'm May, and today we are talking about something so important, the biggest mistake English learners make.
And I'm Mr. J, and May, I think a lot of our listeners are going to hear this topic and think, oh, I know what it is, grammar, right?
That's exactly what I thought too. But Mr. J, when you told me the real answer last week, I was honestly shocked.
Yeah, it's not what most people expect. And once you understand it, everything about learning English starts to feel different.
Like your whole approach just changes, and that's exactly why we're talking about it today.
Because a small change in how you learn, it can save you years of frustration.
Okay, so Mr. J, before we jump in, let's just say this quickly. If you are new here, this podcast is made for English learners just like me.
We keep it simple, we keep it real, and we keep it fun. No boring textbook stuff here.
Absolutely none. So if you want to improve your English every week, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode.
All right, May, let's get into it. So tell me, how long have you been studying English?
Oh, wow. Okay, I think maybe 7 or 8 years since I was in school.
7 or 8 years, that's a long time. And be honest, do you feel fluent?
Not really. I mean, I can read pretty well, but speaking? Mr. J, speaking is terrifying for me.
And that right there, what you just said, that is the clue to the biggest mistake. 7 years of studying, but speaking still feels scary.
So the mistake is not speaking enough?
It's deeper than that. The mistake is treating English like a school subject instead of using it like a real communication tool.
Oh, okay, say more. What does that actually mean?
Think about it this way. When you were a baby, did you learn your first language by reading grammar books?
No, I just talked. I copied what I heard. I made mistakes and nobody cared.
Exactly. You used the language first. The rules came later, or sometimes never, and you're still fluent, right?
Completely fluent. I don't even think about grammar when I speak my own language.
That's because your brain built automatic patterns, not from studying rules, but from using the language every single day in real life.
So when we only study grammar and do worksheets, we're kind of missing the whole point.
Completely missing it. And here's a really common example. Imagine a learner who knows every grammar tense, past perfect, future continuous, all of it.
Okay, yeah, I know people like that. Super smart with grammar tests.
But then they go to a restaurant in an English-speaking country and they cannot order food.
Oh no, that is so sad, but also so real.
Because they never practiced real conversations. They practiced rules on paper, and paper doesn't talk back.
That's such a good point. The grammar is in their head, but it's like frozen there. It can't come out naturally.
Perfectly said. And actually, there's a word for this in language learning, fossilization. Wait, here's the best part about this word, May.
Oh, fossilization? That sounds kind of scary, like a dinosaur bone.
Exactly like a dinosaur bone. So fossilization, it means when a mistake or a bad habit becomes so repeated that it gets frozen in your brain.
Like it becomes permanent?
Almost permanent, yes. For example, if a learner always says, she go to school instead of she goes to school.
And nobody corrects them.
After months or years, that wrong form starts to feel natural to them, and then it's really, really hard to change.
That actually happened to me with some phrases. I kept saying something wrong for so long, and then my teacher corrected me, and I was like, wait, that's wrong? It sounded so right.
Yes, that's fossilization in action. And the scary thing is, it happens when we focus only on being understood and not on being correct.
Okay, so this is making me think. What's the fix? Like, what should learners actually do differently?
Great question. And the answer is not to throw away your grammar books completely. Grammar still matters.
Phew, okay, good. I was worried for a second.
But the shift is this. Use English every day, even in tiny ways. Small conversations, short messages, simple listening.
Like even just texting a friend in English counts?
100%. Or watching a YouTube video with subtitles, or repeating sentences you hear in a podcast, like this one, for example.
Okay, shameless but valid.
When you use English in real contexts, your brain starts building what we call automatic patterns, like muscle memory, but for language.
Oh, like how a pianist doesn't think about every finger movement, they just play?
That is a perfect analogy, May. Seriously, that's exactly it. At first, every note is careful and slow, but with real practice, the fingers just know.
So we need to practice English like musicians practice music, not just reading about it, actually playing it.
Beautifully said. And this brings us to another big mistake that goes along with this one: translation.
Oh, you mean when people translate every word in their head before they speak?
Yes, a lot of learners, especially beginners, they hear something in English, they translate it to their language in their brain, they think of the answer in their language, then they translate it back to English.
And by the time all that is done, the conversation has already moved on.
Exactly. And on top of being slow, the translation creates mistakes because languages don't always work the same way.
Like, I remember I used to say make a party instead of have a party because in my language, we use the word for make.
That's a perfect example of translation error. The meaning is clear, people understand you, but it sounds unnatural to a native ear.
And that kind of thing can get fossilized too, right?
Right. So the goal is to slowly start thinking in English, not translating, but reaching for the English word or phrase directly.
That sounds really hard though, Mr. J. Like, is that even possible for beginners?
It takes time, but yes, absolutely. And a great starting point is learning full phrases instead of individual words.
Oh, like instead of learning just the word have, learn the whole phrase, have a party, have a good time, have a meeting.
Exactly. Chunks of language. Because that's how native speakers think, in phrases and patterns, not word by word.
Okay, this is changing my whole thinking about vocabulary. I used to make these long word lists.
And word lists are not bad, but they're more powerful when you learn words inside sentences and phrases, in context.
In context, so the brain sees how it's actually used in real life.
And this connects to something called comprehensible input. This changed everything for me when I first understood it.
Comprehensible input? Break that down for me, Mr. J.
So, comprehensible means you can understand it, and input just means the English you listen to or read.
Okay, so comprehensible input is English that you can actually understand.
Mostly understand, maybe with a few challenging parts. Not too easy, not too hard. Like a stretch, but not a break.
Like that Goldilocks idea, not too hot, not too cold, just right.
Yes, Goldilocks input. And the key part, it has to be something you actually enjoy.
Because if it's boring, your brain kind of shuts off?
Exactly. There's actually a concept in learning psychology called the affective filter, and this is fascinating.
Affective filter? You mean like a feelings filter?
Yes, affective relates to emotions and feelings. So when you feel stressed, nervous, bored, or embarrassed, your brain puts up a kind of wall.
And that wall blocks the learning.
It blocks how much sticks in your memory. You might hear the words, but they don't stay. They don't go deep into your brain.
Oh my goodness, so feeling scared when you speak English actually makes you learn less?
That's what the research suggests. Stress raises the affective filter. Relaxation lowers it.
So a friendly podcast like this one, no pressure, is actually better for learning than a stressful classroom test.
For many learners, yes, especially for speaking confidence. And this is why so many people say they understand English better when they're watching something they love, a show, a movie, a video about their hobby.
Because they're relaxed. The filter is low, so the language comes in more easily.
Perfectly explained. You're on fire today, May.
I'm learning while I talk.
Okay, so we have the affective filter, we have fossilization, we talked about translation. What about the people who are just too scared to speak at all?
Ah, yes, the silent learners. And I want to say this carefully because I don't want anyone to feel judged.
Right, because a lot of us have been there.
There's actually something called the silent period in language acquisition. Research shows many learners go through a time when they can understand English, but they're just not ready to produce it yet.
Oh, so it's actually normal to be in that listening phase.
Completely normal, especially for beginners. And forcing yourself to speak before you're ready can actually increase anxiety.
So it's okay to just listen for a while?
It's okay, but, and this is important, the silent period should eventually end. At some point, you have to start trying to speak, even badly,
Even badly? I love that.
because communication practice, even with mistakes, gives you real feedback, and it builds confidence faster than any textbook.
You know what, Mr. J? I think about all the times in class when I knew the answer, but I stayed quiet because I was scared of making a grammar mistake in front of everyone.
And that fear, that silence, that's the affective filter at full power. And sadly, staying silent means no practice. No practice means no improvement.
It's like a loop. Fear causes silence, silence causes no practice causes more fear.
Exactly that loop. And the only way to break it is to take one small, safe step. One sentence, one question, one message.
Small and safe. I like that. So to be clear, we're not saying be perfect. We're saying be brave enough to try.
Yes, and then pay attention to the feedback. That's the final piece. Make mistakes, but then fix them.
Because if you make the same mistake and nobody corrects you, what happens?
Fossilization. We're back to our dinosaur bone.
The dinosaur bone again. Okay, so feedback is super important. From teachers, from podcasts, from subtitles, just noticing when something is wrong.
And tools like grammar checkers, or even just re-listening to yourself speak, these all help you catch errors before they get frozen in.
Okay, wait. Re-listening to yourself? Like recording yourself?
Yes, recording yourself speaking English is one of the most powerful and most underused practice tools out there.
That sounds terrifying, honestly.
It is uncomfortable at first, but you hear exactly what you're doing wrong, and you hear yourself improving over time. That is incredibly motivating.
Okay, I'm gonna challenge myself to try that this week. Record 1 minute of me speaking English and listen back.
That is a wonderful challenge, and listeners, you should try this too.
All right, Mr. J, I feel like we've covered so much today. Can I try to recap what I got from this conversation?
Please do. I love to hear it in your words.
Okay, so the biggest mistake English learners make is treating English like a school subject, just studying rules and grammar, but never really using the language.
Good. Keep going.
To actually improve, we need to use English every day, even in small ways. Real conversations, listening to things we enjoy, writing messages, all of it counts.
Yes.
We should stop translating everything and start learning phrases, not just single words, so our brain builds natural patterns.
Beautifully said.
We talked about fossilization, which is when mistakes get frozen and become super hard to fix. So we need to get feedback and actually pay attention to our errors.
The dinosaur bone. Never forget it.
Never. And we talked about the affective filter, which means fear and stress block learning. So we should try to practice in relaxed, enjoyable ways.
And the silent period. It's okay to just listen for a while, but eventually you've got to take that brave step and speak.
Exactly. Be brave, not perfect. Because communication builds confidence, and confidence builds fluency.
May, that was an outstanding recap. Seriously.
I learned from a good teacher. Okay, so before we close, Mr. J, what's your final thought for our listeners today?
I want every listener to ask themselves this one honest question tonight. Think about yesterday. How many minutes did you actually use English, not study it, but use it in real life?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
If the answer is 0, that's okay. But tomorrow, find even 5 minutes. Watch a clip, send a message in English, repeat a sentence you heard, start small.
Because small is how all big things begin.
Exactly right.
All right, everyone, that is a wrap for today's episode. We hope this one gave you something real to think about and maybe even something to do differently starting tomorrow.
And we'd love to hear from you. So here's our question for the comments. Are you more of a grammar student or an English user right now? And what is one small thing you're going to do this week to actually use English more?
Tell us in the comments. We read every single one, and your answer might just inspire someone else.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. Keep practicing, keep being brave, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone. Keep going. You've got this.